No, this is for this short-term rental.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and get started with the council work session. This time, welcome any comments or opening remarks. We welcome everyone to the Bellefonte Borough Council work session. No council action is taken during this meeting or during the work session. So that leads me into the trivia question from Mr. Bernier.
Pennsylvania is one of the few U.S. states that is a commonwealth, which has no legal meaning, but emphasizes the role of what in state government? People. It emphasizes the role of people in the state's government. The other U.S. states that are commonwealths are?
Massachusetts. And Virginia?
Kentucky, I heard. What else? Virginia and Massachusetts. Good job. I heard something else in there. Illinois?
Now he's going to judge our answers.
That's it. I didn't know that that's what commonwealth meant.
I didn't either.
You can just write it on here.
Yeah,
There you go.
Bring it up there.
Doug called me today to try to get the answer.
Where's the
All right, so we're
water?
going to move, the next presentation is Mr. Edgar Board, is that right? And he's going to talk to us about disc golf at Governor's Park. So we can give you 15 minutes and see where we get.
I have to apologize. We moved our podium. If you just find a place. We were going to do budgeting first, and we switched things around.
So,
I guess that's all right.
I wasn't sure how many we'd have today.
We're fine. If we need to make
Share.
copies, we'll do that.
So yeah, I reached out to a buddy not too long ago. I am with the Center County Disc Golf Association. I also started my own business in disc golf course design, retail, stuff like that. We've been trying to expand our courses in the Center County region, and Bellefonte is currently somewhere where we don't have a course, where we don't have that outreach. So yeah, I reached out, just a shot in the dark to see if there's any interest. I walked through Governor's Park the one day and seemed like it's fitting for a nice little easygoing 9-hole course, and Buddy showed some interest, and so I'm here today to kind of talk about that. I guess just to start, in 2021, disc golf was one of the fastest growing sports, and it's because it gave people a chance to get outside, have a healthy activity to take part in, socially distance and stuff like that, so it caught on really quick. In Center County alone, with our club, we've seen our club membership grow by, I think, 300%. Our league attendance usually is between 20 and 40 people every league week, so it's growing at a rapid pace. Our club's kind of reorganized to go nonprofit and handle the amount of new players. So about the course itself, like I said, I was kind of interested in maybe an easygoing, beginner-friendly 9-hole course, something to cross-pollinate between the other activities within the park and in disc golf, because people see the baskets in the ground, they wonder what it is, they're kind of curious, and then players go out there, they see what you have there at Governor's Park, and I heard the pool might be opening back up in the future and stuff like that, so that's a great opportunity there. And I think it'll really increase foot traffic. If you see, I think on the last section there of that page, the numbers of play counts that we've had at Circleville Park, as well as Harvest Fields, which is one of the courses I designed. Just in September alone, I think 670 at Circleville and 740 some at Harvest Fields. And you can see the play count throughout the year so far. I think those are great numbers, and that's just people who use the UDisc app, which is about 60% of players. So I think it's a great opportunity. I guess, does anybody have any questions? Anybody not familiar with the sport itself?
I don't know what it is.
Okay, I guess I should start with that. Disc golf is the same as golf itself. Yep. Except you use a frisbee instead of a ball and club. The goal is to get from a tee pad to into that basket in as few strokes or throws as possible. It's really fun, great to get outdoors, just experience nature and stuff like that. So it's a real fun time.
What modifications to the property or what are you expecting, and then who does what?
The picture I have on the back end there, that's just real 30,000 foot. I just threw some basic layout there. A good portion of it will go through the wooded areas. The more open areas that are already cut and maintained, that'll be a little bit easier. For the wooded areas, there would be some minor, tree removal. I'm talking, really small trees, which actually is healthy for the more mature trees around there. It gives them some breathing room, less competition. The County Disc Golf Association, we volunteer for things like this to do, any development, installations, tree removal, stuff like that. So as far as getting it in place, there'd be a little bit of work, but ongoing maintenance, it kind of takes care of itself because of foot traffic alone.
And once the course is established, do people go through a self-check-in? Do they bring their own stuff? Is it just self-serve?
Yeah, self-serve, you go. It's easy, it's cheap startup, $20 gets you 3 discs to get started. So it's really accessible to most people. You just go, you start a hole 1 and play 2 rounds, 3 rounds if you want. Yeah, that's a great thing about it. It's real easy for people to get into, families, children. We do clinics and lessons and stuff like that with the club. So it's a great community sport.
I think one of the things that when Don and I met with you was kind of the brush cleanup in the woods, because right now some of it is not passable.
Yeah.
In cleaning up some of that brush, there are some walking trails also, and the golf course would not interfere with the walking trails. It would not interfere with the park or anybody having a picnic at the park. As a health and phys ed teacher, I'm all for this. We teach it in our classes. We have portable disc golf. The kids really enjoy it. And if this was a course, like you said, a beginner course, but it would still be a lot more challenging than just throwing a frisbee into an open area. It's a great family activity. It's great fitness. You get out, you walk, and I like what you said in here. We bring a lot of foot traffic to the park, and we have a lot of good things going on with the park and in Bellefonte itself. So I really feel it would bring some more people to Bellefonte.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like I said, this is an area we're trying to reach out to. Because right now we have 4 courses, but they're kind of, all State College centered, Bollesburg, Port Matilda. So I think this is an untouched area. You have a great community, a big community, and I think you can really draw a lot of folks in. Circleville, which is pretty similar, the most foot traffic you'll see at that park is disc golf related. So.
What's the cost to do the installation?
It depends on, I guess, what route you want to take. 9 baskets with the discounts that I receive as a vendor, those are about $3,000, give or take with shipping. The tee pads themselves, probably about the same, $3,000 to $3,500. And then the design and some miscellaneous fees, it's about $2,500 to $3,000 itself. So you can get started around $9,000 to $11,000.
Sounds great. Who brush hogs the wooded disc
I
potholes?
It honestly doesn't need it. I mean, like I said, initially to get through it, there'd be some light cutting. I walked through that area. It's very, like they're all saplings, very immature trees and brush.
Okay.
Um,
So there's very little labor involved in setting it up?
Mostly because of the volunteer help you'll receive from the club. We are committed, we put in tons of work days. Right now, I'm the course director. I'll be backing out of that here at the end of the year, but that's what we do. We get folks together. I cut myself, run a chainsaw. And I'll have insurance and stuff like that, so I'd be glad to help out and volunteer as well. So it shouldn't be too much to get started, and then from there, like I said, foot traffic should keep it going. There's always ongoing maintenance, but it's not too bad.
So where you have these marked out in the wooded area, how close is that to some of the eating areas out there?
So like the walking
The
paths.
picnic tables and all that.
Pavilion.
Like I said, what I have laid out there is just a rough, I threw lines up on the map there. I haven't actually started the design. I walked through, I know it's possible. I think I can definitely avoid all of the trafficked areas and all of the pedestrian areas, walking past picnic benches and stuff like that. So that's what I do.
I'm all for this project. We do have the YMCA healthcare or childcare out there during the summer months.
Right.
So, will that be any problem for you guys or for the YMCA childcare folks? You good with
Shouldn't
that?
be. I guess what areas do they utilize?
They're mostly around the bigger pavilions up near
We're near the restrooms.
Okay.
There's a couple pavilions there. Just letting you be aware of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we and if there's something going on, our club will we'll put word out on our Facebook group and any other channel we have to let people know, hey, stay away from this course. We won't run any events or leagues or anything like that during those times. And another note I put on there, I'd be glad to be the liaison between your borough and the club. So.
So when people come in and like lease or rent the space so that they have it to themselves for a day, or how's that work?
No, not generally. What we do, if we hold any events, like a league, that's anybody can show up. It's still open to play for casual players. For tournaments, we may kind of steer casual players away from the course for the day. And obviously tournaments, we get the approval from you all to make sure it's okay to run. But it is a great way to bring in extra foot traffic, 36 people on a 9-hole course, cards of 4, and get a lot of people in, so.
So you said that there are 9 baskets. I can see the cost for those. The keypads, are they something that would have to be reserved, brought in from the borough down there? How does that work? What are the keypads? How are you to use the keypads? So it's kind of a couple of questions.
The T-pads, so they're permanent installations, or at least semi-permanent installations. There's a couple options. One would be concrete, which is very permanent. I tend to gravitate towards turf T-pads, which is natural looking.
So they're not computers, which is what I was thinking.
Oh, no, T-pads, sorry.
T.
Nope.
I thought it's K-E-Y.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, they're just the surface that we throw from to the basket.
Now, there is an app though, right, that you can keep track of your score and keep track of how you do over time. Did you touch on that a little bit?
I mentioned it, yeah, it's called UDisc, and it's the most popular app for disc golfers. Keep score, you can find new courses, which, this will show up on there, people can come play it. Yeah, and you watch yourself improve, and that's actually what I use to get the statistics there. And like I said, about 60-65% of people use UDisc, so those are the numbers we're looking at.
I know some people who really enjoy camping in the summertime, and they plan their camping trips around new disc golf courses so they can camp and play the new courses, so.
I'm one of those people.
There you go. This would bring people to the area.
Yeah, absolutely. We run a lot of big tournaments throughout the year, and people will travel out here to play it. Like I said, I do it myself. So yeah, it brings a lot of people in.
We keep discs in our truck. We're terrible at it, but if we stop, it's okay. There's this golf course. Let's hop
Yeah.
out and spend an hour doing it.
It's fun to play.
That's something that's easy. Three discs in the truck. We're not, we're not too into it, so we have 3 discs, but.
I compare it to, your family going mini golfing, like, it's a lot of fun, but like, who wins? It doesn't, you go out and you play, it's a great family activity, or if you get a friend and you can make it competitive if you want,
Yeah, yeah. There's a whole professional side of the sport that we get into, and yeah, it gets pretty in depth. But yeah, it's a great activity, and I'd be glad to do like a volunteer clinic for the local community and stuff like that. So you can kind of get it rolling, get new players, and see that foot traffic.
So are there fees involved on your end?
You mean as far as the design?
Well, as far as the design, but then again, with that park, we have fees for various pavilions.
Oh, okay.
The ball field, things like that, so.
No, generally free to play. There are pay to play courses out there, usually on ball golf courses. I call it ball golf. But yeah, for something like this, it's just, like I said, easily accessible to everybody. So that's what we're looking for at least. Any other questions?
This isn't something we're discussing tonight at our main meeting, but at some point we'll probably get that on the agenda.
Okay.
Where we can make some more discussion and see where we go from there.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can we talk about special events, or you want to move into the awards?
I think we'll do budgets, or then if you want to go, or you don't want to stay the whole time, you don't have to.
Bye.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have 3 more funds tonight. We'll start with the EMS fund. The borough levies a tax for EMS services. I did not change the tax rate, which is 0.20 mils. There's basically no change from last year to this year, except that they're starting, this has been, I think this next year will be the 3rd year for this. And so we're starting to get a little bit more in delinquent tax revenue than we had before. That's basically the big change, is that we're collecting more delinquent taxes because we've been doing this a little bit longer. But it comes in, they submit their expenses to me, and I pay their expenses up to what the money we have available.
So we tried to mirror this similar to what we do with
Yep.
fire company tax,
Mhm.
designated tax on the tax bill. It's a reimbursement system. They bring receipts into you, then you reimburse, and so on. The only other thing I'd want to point out is some of you attend Mr. Rote's annual presentation. They've been asking for $500,000 from each municipality they serve. So we're under that. We tried to get everybody that uses the service to pay their fair share, but that's not what's happening. So I just want you to be aware, we're under from what they're requesting, for what it's worth.
So I think it's been 2 years since we've added anything to their budget,
Yes.
if I'm correct on that. And if you looked at what Scott sent out, Bellefonte is the majority of their services
Yes.
that they've used. Like we're into the 300 to 400, while the other townships or so are in 200 or less. So I think for myself, and for Bellefonte, that it would, I think we should try to add something to this budget to get us going in the right direction and try to help set the example and not be part of the example.
I think right now we're at 0.25, which is
Oh,
half
okay.
of the
Yes.
0.5. If we could increase it to 0.3 mils.
So that'd be about 5,000 some odd dollars roughly, I believe, right? Somewhere.
Yeah, but so
I
the
don't know where-
0.05
That's what-
increase.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can change that. We just need to decide that before we're all done, so we can change the tax rate.
I mean, everything would be tentative. We can see where we come in at once we get some more numbers on the general fund.
Okay.
Just just real quick, we don't have all the details, but we were at the Boroughs Conference this past weekend, and EMS came up because it's a Pennsylvania-wide issue about their underfunding from the state and the federal government. And we found out that some municipalities or service areas of EMS, instead of using a tax, they went to a fee. So the fee everybody pays, the nonprofits, the non-taxables, the school district, the county. So it was something we want to dig into and dive into. But because it's a fee and not a tax, everybody has to pay,
So when you say it's a fee, if you never use it, you don't pay anything, but if you,
Now, you're assessed an annual fee for having the service available.
okay.
Just
So
like
it's
the-
different than the way I think of, we
Yeah.
generally think of fees.
Well, you pay taxes now on firefighting, whether you use it or not. Instead of doing that, you pay a fee for the same thing, EMS, whether you use it or not, or potentially this could, expand into some other services like fire and so on, but we've got to do some more work to dig deeper into it. But it sounded positive, and it sounded like, they got over some of the big hurdles, and that the school district and the county were paying their fair share, and they had a formula based on building square footage. So if you had a large building or a complex of buildings, you paid more. If you just had one small home or whatever, you paid less. It seemed to make sense because everybody pays, so it seemed like it's definitely worth looking into.
Well, here's the kicker, if it covers all properties, it would also include borough-owned property, which would essentially be funded by taxpayer dollars.
Well, we would look at that, if I saw you go like this, I know what that means, but we're planning on that building, any space leased or leased is income producing, so automatically that's paying. That building will pay for its water, sewer, garbage, everything, just like a normal building would, because we're very fortunate, it has some revenue.
But right now, the building that we're in now is borough-owned.
Yes,
So you don't pay property taxes?
that's correct. But
So if there was a fee assessed to this building, it would be paid through borough revenue, which is tax supported.
yeah, we'd have to look at the ins and outs to answer your question, Deb. I don't know all the ins and outs yet, but we got to dive into it.
I wouldn't really see a
Yes.
difference between
Yes.
a borough-owned building and county-owned building
Yeah.
because
County-owned.
people are
Yes.
paying the same things. If you're gonna do it for the county, you would do it for the borough,
Yeah.
the way I see it,
But it's just that the revenue stream for the borough comes from
yes.
the taxpayers.
But you would have less payment on your tax bill, on your personal tax. That would be deducted from, say you're paying $1 this year, if that fee would come out, and you would pay the fee on square footage of your house. This way, we can include nonprofits and others. Right now, we get no revenue from that.
Right, I
So,
understand that. It's
like
just-
Ralph said,
Yeah.
we'd have to look at it carefully and see where the most benefit is.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the other thing we talked about as well was that this this fund may stay as is, much like the fire department that we talked about, and then say, oh, you're not touching what we're doing now, but you're adding to it by going to the nonprofits and the government
Mhm.
properties.
Another borough is doing it right now. We were enlightened and carefully spoke with that gentleman.
Yes.
And seemed to work out very well for their borough.
Meaning
to
their
look into.
EMS was no longer underfunded
No,
through this process.
it would mean, right now, catch me if
Sure,
I'm
sure.
misstating something. The properties now that pay no revenue, tax revenue in the borough, instead of us collecting taxes for services like fire and EMS, we would charge them a fee.
Right.
And everybody in the borough would pay that fee, not just them.
Yeah.
So you would get a slight reduction in your real estate taxes, but you would end up paying a fee for fire and EMS
Yeah.
and.
What I'm saying is going with a fee over a tax, this example you learned about was
Mhm.
good in that they
Yes.
were able to properly fund their EMS.
Right.
Yes.
That's
That's
correct.
the outcome that I hadn't heard yet.
Yeah.
The benefit of us spending time talking about this.
Yes.
This borough has an example of if they
Yes.
went to a fee, all of a sudden, they're not underfunded their very important ambulance, which I know some,
Yes.
we all pay for them and I hope that we don't need them. But
Yes.
okay, that's
Yes.
the outcome that we want.
Yes.
I guess. Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
So
Yeah, and then you got a
the
chance to talk to them.
taxes are totally eliminated for this particular budget,
good.
substituted with the fee?
The earliest, the absolute earliest would possibly be the school district budget, which goes from July 1st. So, and I think realistically, we wouldn't be able to implement a fee probably to get notices and all of that out to everybody, probably looking at the budget for 2024, realistically, because it involves the
But
county.
at that point, there would be not, this whole budget would be eliminated and just be paid for. by-
Potentially, we go from taxes on certain line items to a fee on certain line items.
And that, and just one, so I see this as EMS and firefighting. Would we go firefighting services as well as capital, or just the firefighting?
I would say our budget involves both. I would say both, but I want to, before I can really commit, we got to dig in and learn the ins and outs of this program.
Ralph just wanted to bring it up and he's investigating it and then we'll prepare something to
Yes.
enlighten all of us.
Sounded worth looking into.
You bet
Yes.
it is.
Right, I get you.
Well, with the fire department, there's a little bit of difference because we have agreements with the townships. And that covers their residential, but it doesn't cover, like for Bellefonte, still, the county properties, our properties, things like that. So to me, it's easier to maintain these budgets, because maybe with the EMS or even the fire budget, we wouldn't have to raise that again ever, because we might have, we'd have more money coming in with the funds added to that. The residents have been paying this for 4 years.
Something like that, I think 3 or 4 years.
This 2023, I think, will be the third year.
Okay, sorry.
It's either the third or the fourth.
But in both cases, both entities are struggling. And when people call 911, either want one of two things, the police or the ambulance. And they expect the ambulance to be there. And sometimes the police are there before the ambulance. But it's things we need to consider, because we can't afford to lose them. We're obligated to keep these programs running. And they have a lot of, I hope you go to the tour that they're doing at the Logans, and maybe you'll hear some things. But the training that they do about 3 nights of training a week. Sometimes they're on the weekends. And so there's a lot of responsibility that they learn and that they help train into the community as well. So they're a good source to keep.
Yes. All right, sorry.
Yep, that was good.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, next we'll do special projects. So this fund is exactly what it says. It's things that are projects that usually are short-term. The exception would be the Keystone Community Grant, We got the grant funds, we loaned the money to the people that have the Gamble Mill. They pay us back with a very low interest rate, and once we get enough revenue back from that loan, then we'll loan it out to somebody else. So that is run through this fund. We have the American Rescue Funds that are in here, and we have the Governor's Park baseball field and the police department grant money that we got. So they're all run through here. We got most of the money this year, some of it last year, and it won't all be paid out this year. It will, so of course, the police department grant, a lot of that, over half of it will be paid out next year as we do improvements that we need to do. Same with the American Rescue Funds. A lot of that will be paid out next year. So anything that comes up that's special goes into special projects.
So would you say that this particular budget section is the most unknown because we don't know what grants might be coming in from year to year?
It's not unknown necessarily. I mean, we budget for what we know. If it has a match to it, it usually goes through bulk water because the bulk water is where the matching funds are taken out of. So the grants that don't have a match go through this one, but if they have a match, then they'll go through the bulk water.
Okay. So this is the freebie side.
This is kind of what the ones we don't have to put a match to.
Okay.
So, okay, the last one is bulk water. This is the water that we sell. Right now we sell it to Milesburg and Niagara. And many years ago, council set it up as money that we would use to match grants. Along the way, we got the Armory building, and it was decided that the Armory and the waterfront would not cost the taxpayers anything, so that gets run through here. We still have a loan on the waterfront. We have a loan on the old subway building. That's through here. There's the stormwater project is going through here next year. Obviously the Armory property sold, so there'll be no expenses for that next year. And one of the questions, this fund, I don't have it as balancing yet because we had a question when we talked. We sold the Armory property and that had a storage to it. And so there was the question of, do you want to use some of the revenue, which you can see the revenue for 2022, we're predicting to have a pretty good income. Do you want to use some of that to build a building down at the landfill to house the equipment?
Compost facility.
Okay, compost facility, it's the same place. It's still the same piece of property.
You got me there.
Or not. So this isn't balanced yet because we needed an answer for that question. And you obviously don't have to answer it tonight, but by the time it's finalized, we'll need to have a decision because Ralph has said that there's new equipment that's setting out in the elements down there that was housed in the storage building at the Armory. So
Do we know how much space they need, square foot wise?
Well, to answer your question, ideally we'd get one of those fabric structures that we could put salt and other equipment underneath out of the elements, and something like that would
Sort
be.
of like a lean-to?
No, they're called fabric.
Quonset hut.
Well, yeah, but they're fabric material that lasts years and years. Of special fabric over a metal structure, like a Quonset hut. They used to be metal. They make them fabric now. I think the closest ones, maybe up by Shiloh Road, PennDOT has one for storage of salt. But a lot of the municipalities use them for salt storage and equipment storage, and we'd like to do something similar. There's no foundation required. You can use these concrete blocks as sidewalls, and it's just a simple metal structure that makes a, big curve over your materials and your equipment.
We need our whiteboard.
Yes, yeah, right, we have to get one.
Just a half of a circle.
Yeah, I know, I can picture it.
Okay.
Curiosity question, if we were to do that, we were to move the salt from up there, from down here, what would we like to use with this space down here?
Well, we've talked about that in some of the renovation projects. There's options. We're short on space here. We could put some more equipment inside, keep some equipment here, and move the materials out there. That would make a lot of sense.
Certainly a lot easier to load and unload if it's out there than
Yes.
down here.
Yes, it's difficult for they bring in a tractor trailer, a load, and it's difficult with the road so close.
Yeah.
The other thing with the bulk water fund, this was, we all know, just saying for what it's worth, this is a point of contention. And one of the ideas going forward is that half the funds going forward would go to the water authority.
So that's where I wanted to put my water authority hat on. Don't shoot me. So because we got a little money for the police department renovation, it's 15 grand. Can the authority get some of that back from the 1.8, like half of that? Or is it a done deal?
You gotta talk to these people.
So the bulk water fund it's all our money, but 15,000 came out of the bulk water fund to pay for the renovation design of our existing police space.
Yes, that's be prior to having any grant funds.
Exactly,
Yes.
yeah.
So this is the 15,000 is listed under 2022.
Yeah, so 410,700.
Thank you.
And I just think I'm just asking, it may come up in the authority, can we get half of that back from that funding source? Because now any efforts on redesign come out of what do we call that fund? I don't know.
Special project.
Special projects, yeah, it was in there.
Can that be reimbursed, half of that to the authority, the bulk water fund? If it doesn't, that's fine. I'm asking the question because I'm an authority member. That's so, like Mr. Stewart said, it's up to this council, not up to anybody else. Not up to Mr. Stewart or Mr. Holmes. You end up getting it back anyhow eventually with another project, I would imagine. So.
But we did make that agreement, correct?
Well, I don't know, I don't think it's
We're
etched in
gonna
stone
finish
yet.
it up. There's the other side of it. We're
Okay.
we're close, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can't answer that question until we get to the other side. We can't answer that question until we get to the other side
that's
of
fine.
the discussion. Any other discussion or questions on the bulk water?
So our biggest, just to make sure that the public know, because I'm sure they'll be happy to know, is the biggest expense in this project is the Parkview Heights stormwater management.
Yes.
So, and that's, looks like it's.
277.
Two-thirds of the cost for bulk
Yeah.
water next year.
So basically, anytime we had a project that we didn't have local grant funds, this is where we turned, and that's why the fund was set up like it was. It's water that does not go through the water system. So we've always set these funds aside for special purposes.
We still haven't heard on the grants yet, but we're hopeful.
And it's so,
So when we get that grant, that cost will come off?
it's a matching.
No, there's no
No.
matching. There's, all the revenue is coming from grants, and then the expense, it's a balance. It's
So
an in and
what I
out.
was thinking was
So
you
there's your
said that the special
$15,000.
projects.
See what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
277 comes off?
You
It's
said-
potatoes and potatoes.
Well, if we get the grant money,
The 277 would come off?
I'm
The
asking that.
277 is covered by grant revenue.
Okay.
So that's
Right
not an
now.
expense.
So it's not an expense. The revenue, what comes in will go out.
So there's no
Paying
matching.
attention
fees
over here.
at all?
Right here, guy.
Not
We
at
don't
the
know at
moment.
this point, Joanne, because we haven't heard.
Yeah.
And it's a different grant that we're not familiar with.
What decision is gonna come before us later, you said about, we won't have to decide tonight, but at some point about the,
So for the building, if you want to build the building, a building, or
over
a
at,
storage.
over at the Musser Lane facility,
Mhm.
to store stuff that's sitting out right now.
Equipment, right. Ralph had said that we have, the equipment that was in that storage down at the armory had to be removed and was taken down there. And so there's equipment that's sitting out in the elements.
Which are gonna get a whole heck of a lot worse here in the next month.
So
When are we making
How
this
about Wednesday
decision?
night when it snows?
we do have some profit from the sale of that property, the armory property, because there was a loan on it. We had paid on the loan. So what we got was more than to pay off the loan. So there's some revenue from that we got this year, but you can certainly use next year if you choose to build the building.
Revenue from the sale of the armory building.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's gonna be the brewery we could use to,
Mm-hmm.
so the decision's gonna come up here. We don't wanna let that equipment sit out in the weather.
We would like to prefer to get it out of the weather, exactly.
So although this is semi-budget related, but not this budget related. If this is a concern, is there funds in this year's budget to help take care of that problem now?
Well, we can maybe start the ordering process, but, everything's on back order, but it'd be good to start that process sooner
So
than
if
later.
you start the process, are there funds in our budget to be able to do that for this year's budget?
Mm-hmm.
We
Sure.
can start looking at that.
Mm-hmm. But I agree with Ralph. I think we're going to find that it probably won't happen till next year, unfortunately. Everything seems to happen
With the supply
that way.
chain, if we start the process, give them some of the money
Yeah.
now, from this year's budget, then we'll be 3 months.
What's sitting out, Rob? What came out of the armory? We're talking
We
big
have a
implements.
tractor,
There
we
is a
have a
tractor.
skid steer, we have 2 leaf trucks, we
Yes.
have our street sweeper, so
Yes.
there's, $150,000 vehicles that are.
I like the
sitting
street
out.
sweeper.
The sweeper obviously is winterized and put away during the winter. And we used to put it out there in the armory.
The leaf collection trucks, we have 2 of those that are both in
Yeah,
great
same
shape, and
thing.
they're put away for the winter after, November, December.
Yes.
We have a new tractor that we purchased down there, windrow turner. We'll have a skid steer. We're gonna be purchasing a bagging system. It's a lot of equipment.
Can we find somebody who has a barn that would like to?
Maybe we might have to look at that.
Grange Fair's out of space too.
Could we move the salt and tarp it somewhere so the salt doesn't get wet and move some of that down here?
It's possible, it's
Just a
awkward.
thought.
Yes,
Cover the salt with tarps.
yes.
If we can deliver the salt, when's that happen?
Periodically, I don't know, we usually try to get filled up from the end of the season from last year, we try to get full. So I think we're good to start with. I haven't seen any invoices coming through.
It's been, I think both bins are full right now.
Any other discussions on the bulk water fund? I guess that's it for.
I'll
bulk
listen for
water.
a while.
Julie, Gina, however you want to,
I don't
do you want to start, Julie?
You have a special event to
Yeah.
go through yet?
Well, we were doing a special event application. We could, it's up to Randy, we were gonna finish
Oh,
budgeting.
okay.
We had some subcategories of the general fund. You want to maybe just quickly go over them, I don't know how much time we'll have, but if you want to give us an update of where we left off from 2 weeks ago.
Okay. I have Dawn has the sheet up there right now. So we're going through the other areas of the budget, the general fund, with council and the mayor. Looking at those, the majority of those are not items that, you need to review. They're not items that are going to be anything that would be a priority item that we might change. We did pull out a few things with the first one for the public notification and public communication and outreach. If you want to click on that first detail there for a moment. So just with that one, that would be CNET expenses, advertising, printing, copy for council. And so this is an area where if council decided they wanted to share more information publicly, that might be an area that you would put a little more money into, or to decide other ways to share. So you can close that one. Yeah. So this is the other one, public communication and outreach. That is one where we might put in, if council wanted to do any type of survey information requested by council, public meetings, further public meetings, flyers, and that type of information might go in this area. So if that was something that was a priority, council might decide to add to that. That doesn't really have, that, we need to collect a little more information to give that any type of cost. So that would be an ongoing thing to look at.
Would that include legal as well, or?
That does not.
Because I don't remember we talked about grouping things.
Yeah,
true.
That was in the group.
Yes.
Well, it's a good suggestion.
So that might be something we could group
We
in
would
there as
add
well.
in, or as we get into this, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, overall, that's what, we've only picked out a few things, if you want to go back to the spreadsheet. Only picked out a few things with council and the mayor that were not things that, or, that were things that we might prioritize. So we also had the training for council members, and we had the costs in there. And so we just had some cost. That cost included the council retreat that we had budgeted for. Rather, more money wanted to be allotted there. Could allot more there. Go back out. So these just have some basic numbers in. Then the memberships and organizations that are available for council use. We have that one in there. And then also for executive, we picked out those same few things, the professional organizations and memberships. If those needed to be, a few membership added or some of those taken away, that might be an item. If you want to go back out to the, yep. So also there we had training for executive. We go back up that way a little bit. Oh. So then general government, if you want to go to 7, detail 7. So that was a general government, and that was janitorial services. So this one, janitorial services and IT, this seemed like a good place to put these for a total expense. We've only started with the janitorial service we have right now just in March. We had looked back, Lori and I looked back, and it was just in March. And we could find that they were about $480 per week. That's going to need to be expanded probably, or another service for the additional building we just got. So that might be something we would want to change. That at least would give you an idea. And then the next one, if you want to go back out. The next one is just the IT services. I don't really have numbers for that one at this point, but that would be one cost to be determined. We did have budget at about $10,000 for 2022 in there, but that is a cost that's distributed through many departments right now, so it's kind of hard to capture that cost. Plus, it's very determined by problems that we have that need to be fixed. So, that's always ongoing. So that fluctuates quite a bit. But if we can establish some type of basic cost for that, at least to give us an idea if you're ever looking to change that in any way, then it'll give a overall cost. So you can get them back out. And then under government, general government, we had also there for the staff, professional memberships. Yeah. So we had some costs that we have there, memberships for organizations for our just our general staff.
Would zone any type of membership on it, like
That would be under
that would be under
planning zone.
Okay, yeah, this is just for general for our office. So, can go back out. And so we had also for training for staff, and yep. So we had some, these were our budgeted previously, and then also an increase there, just that basic 4% increase for 2023, unless other, we want to increase in other ways.
So, just out of curiosity, this one jumps from 478 to 2,080.
The total for 2021, I think, is the actual number we've done so far.
Okay.
The budgeted is 2,000.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
yeah, that's budgeted, so that would be 2021.
Well,
That,
that's the 4%. Okay, now I
Yeah.
understand.
yeah, sorry about that. So that one was, yeah. Thank you. You can go back up. So then we also have, we did also pull out administrative vehicle costs right there. Now for that one, we have the 2 Ford Explorers, and that was pulled out for a possibility of doing an EV vehicle for one of those. Those would be a vehicle that we might be able to do that with. So just for consideration. And Ralph did say that we kind of rotate vehicles there, so that might be in the future.
We do, so we weigh that in and then look at the costs. I think the lesson, or again, we try to emphasize every meeting that we're not going to have enough room to get everything in, especially with the amount of inflation, this 40-year spike. We're going to have difficulty. It's hard any other year. It's going to be really hard this year. So we're trying to get you familiar with, where the funds are going, where the expenses are underneath the general fund, which is the one we struggle with the most. We're trying to show you there's memberships, there's training, we're probably going to have to take a scalpel and work on probably all the categories. But training is also about liability as well. It lowers your liability the more training you have. Even if you get sued, you can say, well, at least we were trained and we were trying to do the right thing. It lowers the liability that we all have. So I always stress that it's a double-edged sword as what you cut out of a budget. But
So here, we had mentioned too, there might be grant funding for electric vehicle.
yes.
So this might be a place where if we needed to replace, we could consider something like that here. It's not a practical thing for our emergency-related vehicles or work vehicles, because those require so much that that would be tough to do there. So this might be a spot for that.
As a start, this is good.
This is a spot for that
But
anyway.
there has been some showing that doing hybrids or something else might work for some of the other safety vehicles down the road.
I think, the way we would, justify
Try this first.
So this
I was
would,
gonna say
this is an
justify
easy
it through a
spot for
grant.
that.
A
Yeah.
grant would be just like we did with
Yeah.
the other equipment in the town.
Yeah.
Something like that would probably make it worthwhile.
So that's kind of a,
And I
yeah.
think DEP and Department of Transportation would be very happy to help us do that. Both of those would have grants available.
Okay. So if you want to go back out. So then we had, in the other expenses, in the general fund budget, we had, those are pretty much the same as the line items that Lori normally does on that budget. A lot of those are not items that we can really do anything with, but some are. So we had the Fireman's Relief Grant, and you can just go down a little bit. Those just have exactly in there. So if there's any, Ralph, that you wanted to point out there.
Just as Julie said, like Fireman's Relief is a tax collected by the state, and they have a formula. It's a pass-through, if I'm saying anything out of line, Lori. But we don't really do anything other than let it go through our books into the fire company. The one that sticks out up there, CATA, and some of these, there's been a lot of arguments over the years about how much we should be spending for CATA. CATA is our public bus transportation system that we pay into based on a formula. And I believe they're redoing the formula. I don't know if My understanding, they were trying to set up a meeting, but they're having, just like we do, have difficulty trying to get everybody there. But CATA is somewhat, comes up every year in discussions, and some of the other ones that, library funding, I don't know if it's right in that area.
Yeah, Center
Library
County.
funding comes up
No, that's
as,
19.
okay. That, we pay a fair amount of money for libraries to be here, and our contribution. Those are ones that stand out right off the top.
DPI, how much more do we have on that?
I think we have two more years yet.
How
I
many?
think 2 more years.
Okay.
It decreases each year, but I think there's still 2 more in the agreement.
Okay. Can you scroll down a little
So
bit?
before you go, under ambulance volunteers, is that EMS?
EMS, yes, we're, under the borough code, we're required to pay workers' comp coverage. Now, I understand they have no, or very few or no volunteers left. They're all paid. Did you know that? I don't know if you.
Can we change
That
ambulance
just
to
is, I
EMS?
get that amount from the insurance company, so I assumed that that was communicated to them.
We'll have to double check that, but I've heard that it's either down or none left.
There are, EMS does still have some volunteers.
Okay.
Not a whole lot, but they
Okay,
do have.
so we're obligated to pay the volunteer side for workers.
Can
I
you
think we need to know how many
detail for
volunteers they
EMS?
have.
I think that's what we were saying.
Yeah, but I would
Detail
change
sheet?
ambulance to EMS volunteer work,
For
somewhere
the
else.
ambulance volunteers.
So that, the reason that that is in there, and some of these are, is that while we do need to provide these services, we could go with another provider if we wanted to on those, so get some of those costs in there. I guess, I thought I had more stuff in there.
What she means by that is workers' comp provider, not EMS provider.
Yeah.
Just to clarify.
So, yes, so that particular item,
What
yeah.
I was going to say is, that you've added a 4% increase for next year. What we might want to do is find out actually how many volunteers we're covering, and then check with the insurance carrier to see what a better estimate of the cost is, because if we're correct and there are fewer, we may not have to increase this at all, and maybe we can decrease this a little bit.
Correct. These numbers are an estimate right now. Lori's numbers would be a lot
Yeah,
closer.
they
and we
break
can
it
look
out
into
for
that a
me,
little
so I would
further.
have an actual from them of what the premium's gonna be next year, as of right now.
These are just estimated.
So
right
when will you
now.
get those final numbers?
We got them I think I got their numbers last week. But this is the general fund, so we haven't hit that yet. So, but yeah, they break it down by all the funds, actually, water, sewer, refuse, parks, even through the general fund.
So who, I think my question is, who is breaking this down? Because what I'm hearing from Ralph and from what we heard from Scott is that EMS has fewer volunteers, and if this is only supposed to be, this particular section is only supposed to be covering volunteers, we should be having to pay less for the.
Yeah, we'll have to-
compensation.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah, we'll
for
have to
that.
ask if it's a flat rate, if it's by the number, I don't know. It would be a
I think it's
question.
based on payroll. I believe it's so.
But payroll, you don't
Well, they
have
won't have
volunteers.
payroll.
They must be payroll for the paid, but then I assume it's some kind of a survey.
I have
or
no
Scott
idea.
verifies. We'll have to find that out.
Yeah, I don't know.
We can make a note in here on that when we find that out as well, so that'll be in there. And as I said, when Lori has her final numbers and everything, those will be in there when you're ready to discuss these. So these are estimated right now. If you want to go back out.
Could we look at 21, the DVI?
Yes, the detail on that one. Yeah. So we have what we have for budgeted
That's our payment
items.
for was 23.
Should be going
No,
down. It should be going down.
she
No,
just
I-
took the same number.
Yeah,
It'll
I
go
took the
down
same
next
one.
year.
And I did not know, a few of these items, I didn't know where those went, so that would be your budgeted.
We made a commitment to them, I think, for 4 years.
I think that's
5 years.
5, yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
Even, let's say they're generating more money than they expected. Are we still committed to?
I think we are, but it wasn't contingent on how much they
Okay.
made.
It was a,
Do we see those, are they public?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a nonprofit. It's,
But this was for the Main Street manager position, I believe,
Yeah.
what that's paying for.
right.
yeah, sorry. That's what the agreement was 5 years ago, or 3 years ago, yeah.
So go back out to the sheet, please. Thank you.
I think it decreases by like 10%.
Can we scroll down a little bit?
Yeah,
I just
Okay.
gives a dollar.
So that's good.
yeah.
So we had, could you go to 20, detail 20 there? Train station. So that one was some miscellaneous, very small items for repairs. So this is one place we probably need to look a little closer and see what our repair costs are for that, because we are responsible for maintaining that.
Well, we have a $1 lease with the chamber, and the chamber is a sublease with the Railroad Association. And, generally speaking, that when that was entered into way back when, they were responsible for the overall maintenance of the building. Now we're doing the roof project, and we're doing some painting through a grant program. And small maintenance issues, our staff assists without reimbursements, and that's something we should look at. Like if they have a problem with plumbing or electrical, usually we'll send somebody over. Now, if they have to replace a unit, it's on them, so. It's something to look at to see what's more of an accurate number of time and materials towards that property.
Okay. We can go back.
Out of curiosity, since we're talking about the train station, what's happening to the kayak museum?
I haven't heard much about the kayak museum. We don't own that. That's the
That was,
Oh.
we leased,
same thing.
yes, it's the same dollar thing.
It's not something that we are working on. It's BHCA is working on it. So we haven't had an
So, but
update.
there's no the reason I'm asking the question is there's no comparable maintenance issue that we're having with that.
No, it would go back to the original agreement, but I don't think we committed to doing any maintenance inside or out.
Okay, so we just had a couple more items on there. The strategic management plan implementation, that actually was one of the items there that I had not had on there before, but that one, if you decided you wanted to increase that a little bit, that one had that number. We were talking about that, and that was the number for the retreat, so I'm not sure if that was it or if that was extra, but that
That's
was
probably
what was
what it
there.
was, I
Probably
guess.
so. So that may not be that next year at all, but, or that might be where we put that next year instead of training. So, can go back out. And then just on the personnel, we just I was just putting in job descriptions, so we don't really need to look at those. Those were just grouped there if we needed information on that, or if anything was going to be done with any of those jobs at any point, or adding to. So, I think the other thing is I had given you a rating sheet, so could you go back up to the top of that sheet, please? Just scroll up to the top. That's good. So the ones that are council and mayor, these would be ones that you could rate as a manager, basically, do ratings that way to decide if you were going to add to. That would be, you don't normally have those ratings, but if you decided you were going to add to the public notification and the public communication and those items, you might want to do some ratings on those. I don't know that we wanted to do that. We could just if you wanted to run through those or not.
I think we're probably good for tonight on that. Maybe we'll spend a couple minutes on planning and zoning.
Yep.
Or, you know, 'cause we're gonna get close to running out of time. So.
Should I jump in here?
Well, if
Do you want
Dawn, you
to
want to
close that out and go to the?
We can click on your folder.
Yeah, my stuff's, I liked hard copies, so everything that's on there, that's gonna be on the screen is in front of you too. So, for right now, because this is all very new, what Ralph and I had talked about doing is just this year, and it'll probably break down further, but planning is one detail, one project, HARB is one project, and zoning is one project. That's very big picture. There are a lot of special projects within those three categories, but just since this is all new, what I tried to do then for those main three detail sheets is put in as much sort of information as I could in the detail sheets which you have in front of you. And I did some rating as best as I could there. So what I would do is just, you have a copy of the detail sheets in front of you. And just so we had some sort of data to work with, I'm really eager to try and learn how Harry used to do his beautiful visual presentations, but I did try and get some numbers in front of you guys so you could just see. So I do have 2021 numbers, and what I do is I have logs of all this stuff, which of course you're always welcome to look at if you want, but like for instance, for zoning, there were 111 permits issued, 107 payments received. There's always just this like disparity. Sometimes there's a fee that's waived for whatever reason. So there, I gave the revenue from the payments, which was 5,370, and then I keep track of all my phone calls. So I have all my phone calls there, but that's all of zoning, planning, HARB. That's any call that I get. So I just stuck that there. So I do have some numbers, and I just have information on kind of basically the administrative role for each of these categories. I did the same thing with HARB. I gave some numbers. Again, HARB is interesting. It's very administrative intensive, but there's just not a lot of profit there. And, that's something that council could think about. We did implement a fee in 2021. So we've done it for 2 years now, coming up on 2 years, of a $25 application fee. Application fees used to be free for HARB, but there's just so much administrative work that goes into prepping for the meetings and getting those applications pulled together. However, you have to think about how much more, if at all, how much more you want to charge people to, submit applications to repaint their house or, redo windows or this or that. So I don't know that there's a lot of area necessarily to garner more revenue from HARB. And then planning as well, I just put in kind of administrative work there and some figures for land development fees. I do, and this is something that we don't need to talk about tonight, but I do have a proposed change to the land development fees because the way that we charge for the fees, it kind of doesn't make sense and it doesn't match up with what Center County planning does and other townships and municipalities. We charge $750 for a final plan when it doesn't have a preliminary plan, but we only charge $300 for a preliminary plan and then a final plan. So it might be confusing to hear these numbers without seeing them, but basically you could submit a preliminary and final and only spend $400, and that's two plans, or you could submit one final plan but have to pay more So it doesn't make sense. It should be sort of matched up. So actually it would cost more to do 2 plans, a preliminary and a final, rather than the final. So that's something I'll propose for fee schedule changes. But, so, that's a quick rundown. Are there any questions? What I think will happen like next year is that these will get broken into more categories. So it won't be one project zoning, it'll be zoning, and there'll be several special projects underneath that umbrella of zoning. Same with HARB. Maybe not so much with planning. Planning's, it's pretty minimal in terms of the scope of work that I do. Because there's not a lot of land development plans that come through. There are a lot of conversations that I have with people that I guess you could categorize under planning, but it could be planning and zoning. So.
I think one of the concerns we hear throughout the year is enforcement issues.
Right.
And right now, you're a one-person shop.
Right.
You said heavy in administrative work.
Yeah.
So we're weak in that area.
Right. Enforcement, I do very little. I have sent out, I've done a little bit. Fortunately, a lot of the type of enforcement that happens in our borough kind of falls under Harry's purview. So he does a lot of like the nuisance code and the brush and the weeds and that kind of stuff. I have sent out violation letters for particular zoning and HARB issues. For the bulk of that, I rely on code to do the actual enforcement. I may send a letter, but code's the one that is following up with the fines if that's the case, and sort of the action. So I don't have a lot of extra time to do enforcement,
So that's why we don't have feather sign enforcement, correct?
right. Although on my plan, just like you guys, I also keep a Office of Community Affairs project list that I color code, and so and now we're getting into the time of year that I like to call where I get to go back and work on things that have just gotten by the wayside. And one of those is particular businesses that are in sign violations. So now that I'm not being bombarded with permits and as many phone calls and stuff, I can go back to that list and work on those letters, send out those violation letters. But yes, that stuff I can't necessarily get to unless it's a priority. I focus on violations that are safety issues or that kind of thing during this busy time of year.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Code, I don't know where we budget our contract with code. But code is a big part of my job, and it's hard to capture how much involvement there is with code in terms of communicating with them, working with them on permits, building permits, rentals, all of that. So they're sort of a constant connection that I have, and working with them makes some of the other pieces easier and more manageable, like enforcement. And they do a lot of although I record keep on my end for zoning, they have extensive record keeping for their projects, but rentals too. So I don't have a rental record keeping that's done through Center Aging Code.
If I'm not mistaken, I think on the rental properties, we recoup about $2 per rental permit per year.
Right.
That administrative fee helps cover some of those costs that you do, Gina, even if it is related to building code issues.
Yeah, where I could see raising a fee could be rental fees. Again, with zoning, the zoning application fee is $50. Whether you're building a brand new home or whether you're putting up a fence, it's $50. So we don't distinguish the type of project, it's just a base zoning application fee. If you're renting, it's $50 per unit, or not unit, per property, per address. So, and last year, one of the recommendations I made to the fee schedule was that we charge the $50 fee for change of management and change of ownership. We weren't doing that. We were only charging for new rentals, but I do the same amount of work in processing paperwork for change of management and change of ownership as I would for a new rental. So at least we have that. That's been helpful.
So that was implemented this year, is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's been in effect in 2022. But you could consider raising, like if you're looking, the whole point of this type of budgeting is to look where you could possibly increase fees or change how something is being done. It's possible that you could consider increasing fees for a certain type of service,
We could do that in December.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, that's what we have.
So you have till
here.
December to figure out what those fees are.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Doc?
Real quick.
Yeah,
In your notes, it says we do not have an official planner for the borough.
right,
You're the administrator.
Right.
Does the planning commission, don't they sort of review the plans with you and then we submit them to the county, or is that helpful to you? Do they help out in that regard? No, okay.
no,
That's
they
okay.
do. I'm still learning, the planning piece, the land development plans come in so infrequently, so that's definitely an area where I have the least amount of growth in this job over the year and a half. When I get a little confused sometimes about the role between like the planning commission and myself. So yes, the planning commission helps a little bit with reviewing those plans, but I think they look to me to not be an expert in that, but to have that planning background. And I don't, so what I do is get as much professional development as I can and learn and do that, and then also rely heavily on Center County planning to get and work with Chris Schnoor there, and he shows me and teaches me how you would review land development plans.
Would Center Region Code help in that?
They have a planning office, so probably they could help with that too. But Center County actually reviews the same plan.
Yeah.
It's usually 2-3 pages of comments, so probably be more closer to our process when we go over to the county.
I know when I was on planning, Randy and I were both on planning, planning commission looked at them carefully and then assumed, and we redlined what we thought
Right.
was helpful to the developer.
Right.
And then we relied on the county for the final approval.
Right,
after
yeah.
We'd get them back from them.
Yeah.
I didn't know if there's something we can do to help you with, feel more comfortable. And I know
Right.
that you don't, like you said, it's not, you're getting land development.
Right,
plans
it's
once a month.
infrequent, so because the planning is so infrequent, that I need to be more proactive about seeking out professional development for. I mean, I'm all about professional development, and but that is an area where I could certainly do more with professional development.
I don't want to get off into the weeds, but I see.
We're already there. We've been there for about 5 minutes.
We've done some renovations to buildings. Okay, and we've experienced on the airport authority.
Yes.
Where it's been suggestion, we have a project manager.
Yes.
That you don't have the time, or Don doesn't have the time, to be the project manager of a renovation of a building in the borough. And I'm wondering if that, with professional development, if that would fit into something that Gina could handle, or Julie, or another staff member.
It's possible, but we're all trying to juggle everything, so
Sure.
it is a concern.
Okay.
So with this stuff, you can just look at it, and like I said, this is the detail sheet. It's basically copied and pasted off of that onto a Word document, so, and formatted a little bit nicer. But, so you can review that and use that to do your, grading, or not grading, but. I know, scoring.
Could you
Scoring.
send
We can add
us
some nice
the
graphs
link
and-
Yeah.
again
Graph,
before we do
Hang on,
trainings? So that, I looked for it this afternoon and couldn't find it. I think that maybe as part of these work sessions, if that could be sent either before the meeting or right after the meeting so that we could go in and do it. I know it's a little bit repetitive, but I think it would make it easier for us to find, because I could spend a whole lot of time this afternoon trying to find it and couldn't.
Sure, we can send out the link, I can go in tomorrow morning, is that?
For these sheets?
Yeah,
For
so
these
there's any
things?
updates or anything?
Yes, yeah, we
Or-
could.
And then not only links, but password, you need everything to go in, is that what you're?
That would be the easiest way.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
one big dump every couple
I
weeks.
need it too.
Yeah.
So, like the ones we did streets and those, would you like to be able to look back on all
Yes,
of those?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So we can just, as we finish them, have them in there available for you to look at whenever you
Would we
want.
still go through the one,
Drive.
one drive, yeah?
I think you probably could, yes. I'm not sure if
Would
that,
those still be there?
yes, as far as I know.
If you want to check it out, we'll send
I think
updated.
that would be helpful for
Yeah.
everybody.
They would
Yes.
not,
Everybody can get on one
well, I
drive.
don't think we've updated those, so now these are updated, so we could update all
Some
of
drives I
them.
get on, some I can't.
I thought, I thought that was the purpose of having the one drive, was that it all went to
That
that one
was the
area.
idea. Now, if someone says they can't get on, I don't know
So
what.
like Melissa's, I can't get on at all.
Oh, for
Don's
the
I can
OneDrive.
get on.
Okay.
No matter what I do, I cannot get into Melissa's.
Okay.
So I don't know what the issue is.
You can send it out and let us know if you're having trouble. We'll try to diagnose it.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I've been asking Alyssa when she sends it to send it to me too, and then I kind of test it out. But if anybody's having any trouble, let Alyssa know, or any of us know.
We'll try to send everything out tomorrow morning when Alyssa's here.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so we're running out of time for this special event permit. I'm not sure how much discussion we need on here, so.
Just real quick, we're looking for feedback on the application, and really beyond the verbiage of the application, is there interest in going down the path of, having fees associated with labor and materials provided by the borough? If that's the case, because other boroughs are doing that, it takes some pressure off the general fund. It's just like we're hearing, it's a potential way of balancing some of the expenses and help with the deficit of the general fund. If I'm hearing you're interested, which is what I'm hearing, we'll try to find some good examples, and the next couple of meetings, get examples in front of you to take a look at.
It might even help if you go through this and try to fill it out like you're the person requesting, filling out the application. And like, okay, what's missing? Because for me, like when I looked at this, it says name event and type of event, but it really only kind of points out Talleyrand Park. So what about the other parks? What about the downtown? They're all being used for special projects, but none of those areas were listed.
We'll check that, and make those comments. If you see things, make comments. We'll
I know
incorporate
Joanne had
them.
sent something in.
Yeah, I sent in a couple of stuff.
So that's homework. And the other thing we need to consider is our last meeting in October. And December's coming, whether we want it there or not, so I'm going to propose that we consider extra meetings to get this budget done. So we're getting tied up with, I know we're getting some of the easy stuff done, but the general budget, people going back in and having to do the work that council needs to do to perform their duty on the general budget, could take a little bit longer.
Yes.
Because it's new. So even if it's like one night a week extra, if we need it, feel we need it. Or you could tell us where we are as far as how we're, where we're headed at this point. It seems to me like we're about a week behind, maybe 2.
I don't think we're,
I thought we were doing pretty good.
the next one will
Doesn't
have
feel that way.
The authority meets before council meets, so water and sewer will be done, and the fire departments, did you get that email? Gary sent one out. We're gonna have an exec meeting next week, so we can go over the fire department one, so they'll be done.
Okay, so that's not gonna be an officers meeting?
Yeah, he changed it so we can present it to the exec board before and get their blessing, so.
Okay.
So then all that'll be left really will be the general fund.
That's good.
All right, well then we'll go ahead and adjourn the work session and be back here at the second quarter. Call the council meeting to order. You can attend in person if you're, want to do that. Mask coverings are optional. Masks are available at the sign-in desk. You're able to view the work sessions and the Borough Council meeting through YouTube and at cnet1.org to view those. And they're also on Channel 7 on the TV. So welcome everybody to the Bellefonte Borough Council meeting. We're going to do our best to start council meetings on time and end them on time. Due to the room acoustics, please speak up when talking so people can hear you and what you're all saying. All comments and reports should be kept to 3 minutes maximum. And we will rise now for the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Bernier.
Here.
Mr. Brackville.
Here.
Ms. Cleaton.
Here.
Ms. Stan.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Present.
Ms. McKean.
Here.
Ms. Purnell.
Here.
Ms. Sedgwick.
Here.
Ms. Tosti-Vasey.
I'm here.
Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Okay, next item is additions to the council meeting agenda. Does anybody have an addition to the agenda? I have one. Dawn had put out a memo on the emergency management coordinator, but it didn't make the agenda, so I'd like to add that to new business. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Hide that back here. Can't move it. Sure. Okay, moving on to public comment. Is there any comments from the public?
I do. Okay, thank you, Joe.
Randy, I have one
Any
thing.
public comments from council?
Thank you very much. Just a reminder, October is Fire Prevention Month, and the Logan Fire Company is having an open house on Sunday, October 30th from 1 to 4, and the public is invited.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll move into communications.
First one is information on a program through the Commonwealth. It's called Pick Up Pennsylvania. It's really about keeping Pennsylvania beautiful by reducing litter that flows into streams. It's a program that's being emphasized from September 1st to November 30th. For more information, you would want to go to keeppabeautiful.org. So there's no council action requested or required.
Yeah, there's no council action, but I'd like to call for a motion and second to add this information to the borough website from November 1st to November 30th.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Dan. By Tosti-Vasey. Any discussion?
Just a real quickie, do we know if Clearwater Conservancy has an event for,
It's usually in the spring of the year.
I've been saying something for the fall related to this. 'cause
I've
it
not-
looks-
I've
'cause I
not-
looked at the
Yes.
list of sponsors and it looked like groups like them are co-sponsoring, so I was just wondering if they might have something that we could hook onto.
We've
In
not,
relation to this website thing. That's how
we've not received anything from Clearwater.
okay. So other than putting anything on the web, is there anything else we'd want to do?
No, I think that was it.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next item, Bellefonte Arts and Crafts Fair is looking to schedule their fair for August 4th, 5th, 2023. Looking for approval. It is their 40th annual Arts and Crafts Fair. And then along with that, they're looking for approval to close various downtown streets starting a Thursday evening, the 3rd at 6, and going through Saturday, 8 to 8 p.m. those same days.
Okay, so this is going to require 2 motions and a comment afterwards. So I'll ask for a motion and second to approve the 40th Annual Bellefonte Arts and Crafts Fair to be held August 4th to the 5th, 2023 in downtown Bellefonte, with all fees to be paid.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it, please.
Okay. In regard to Randy, or Council President Brackbill's comments about the fees, I thought that is a good idea. We are in budget season discussing fees for special events. I would suggest, or maybe it's part of the comments, that it's conditional approval and the fees may change maybe as early as January 1st, but of course these events are coming in now for approval, but we don't know what the fees are going to be just yet, but we can go ahead and approve the events.
Any other discussion?
So, just out of curiosity, this may flip back to the special events thing we were working on in the work session. And there's a question on there about waiver of fees. So, if we put this in here with all fees, I think we need to look at that as well when we finalize all of this. That's
I think you could approve the event and then leave the fee unanswered because we don't know where we're going to end up with that.
All fees is required, I think that makes
Yes.
sense. Okay.
Any other discussion?
Was there any fee, I heard from some people that some of the owners, downtown businesses, were unhappy with closing the streets down. And then I heard others that, no, we want it closed down. I'm still in favor of this event being held in the park. So I just, has there been any feedback? Have the vendors or the businesses been polled in this? You're part of that organization.
I know that there was feedback from the vendors. I don't know if there was feedback specifically from the businesses unless that went through DBI. The only feedback that I saw were the surveys done with the actual artists and vendors.
And that was?
And they're happy being in town.
Well, I saw that expo going on about 2 weeks ago in the park, and we had rain the day before, the day, I can't remember, and I don't know, was there much damage in the park? Was there?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I still think we have a great setting for an arts and crafts festival in that area, and I don't know that the downtown businesses would suffer that much, but apparently they will, so that's where they want to have it. I guess that's where they want to have it.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor to approve the 40th Annual Bellefonte Arts and Crafts Fair to be held August 4th through 5th, 2023 in downtown Bellefonte with all fees to be paid, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
Aye.
1 nay. Okay, and this seems a little early to me, but we'll go ahead and get into it. I'll ask for a motion and second for street closures, North and South Allegheny Street to Bishop Street, to Lynn Street and West High Street, and Allegheny Street to Spring Street, starting Thursday evening, August 3rd, from 6 p.m. through Saturday at 8 p.m. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Dan? Discussion? So we're basically
How
closing
far-
off the T and
Okay, how far on North and South Allegheny Street? It doesn't say.
To Lynn Street.
From Lynn to Bishop.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's what's confusing me. Thank you.
Other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next one is the Faith Church is requesting to hang a banner on the Veterans Bridge for the candlelight caroling event, Talleyrand Park, which is, well, the banner would be hung from November 26th to December 23rd.
I'll call for a motion and second to approve request of the Faith Church to hang a banner on the Veterans Bridge from November 6th to December 23rd. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion. Thank you.
I'll second. Purnell.
Discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to amend that motion to make it from December 9th to December 23rd, because all other groups have had it for a 2-week limited period. This is over a month, and I think we need to be consistent.
So December 6th?
9th, I looked on the
December
calendar,
9th.
9th to the 23rd. It's a Friday to a Friday.
Yeah, I thought about that when I was reading it, but I know we needed a motion to do it, so. Okay. I have a second to that amendment.
I'll second Sedgwick.
Any discussion on the amendment? Okay, seeing none, we have an amendment to change the dates of the hanging of on the banner of the bridge from December 9th to December 23rd. All those in favor of that signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, the amendment passes. And we'll go back to the main motion. Now we'll read to approve request from Faith Church to hang a banner on the Veteran Bridge from December 9th to December 23rd. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next item, the Nittany Valley Joint Recreational Authority is looking for a representative, to go to the November 3rd meeting for the presentation on the pool.
And so I guess that, are they asking for council
It said,
involvement?
it
or-
was addressed, I believe, to Dawn, and said Dawn or a representative of council could attend. I think they're just looking for
A person?
a person that was one of the sponsoring agencies for the pool sponsorship.
You available for that?
Yeah, but.
I'll make the motion to have Don Holderman attend that meeting.
Force you to.
Did you say you were available or you weren't?
Yeah, it's during the workday.
That's what I
I'll be
thought.
here.
Well, then I'll second it.
It was really just to see if anyone on council wanted to attend.
Too late now.
So, any other discussion? We have a motion and a second to send Dawn. Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Congratulations, Dawn.
I'm glad to attend.
It's right here.
Yeah.
Yes.
It'll probably be very interesting too, because we're going to have a 3D photo of what it's going to look like.
Yeah. Moving on to consent agenda. Under consent agenda, what do I have here? I have Kepler Pool. No, these are changes to the, yeah, so are there anything we need to pull out of the consent agenda?
The minutes, and I have a question on the budget versus actual.
That would be, I see budget actuals in September, you mean, that one, the third one?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. And I also have some changes for the agenda as well. So let's go into the agenda. John, I think I saw your changes, but.
You mean the
Yeah, I just had
Oh,
one
sorry, the
change.
minutes. The minutes, yeah.
I just had one change. It's on page 3, and it's the third paragraph down, and it was the amendment to the motion on the fair share agreement with Nittany Valley Joint Recreation. It was basically clarification, because it was a little bit fuzzy what the way it was written, so I changed it to Costi Basie motions and Sedgwick second to amend the motion by conditionally allowing Bellefonte to fund its portion of the pool cost once property taxes have come in next year.
So we have a motion. You made the motion.
Yep.
We have a second.
I'll second it, Clayton.
Second, Clayton. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the correction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries for that part of it. The change I had on there is in old business, and when I looked at this through the packet, the changes that we made to the watershed discussion that we had, and we tried to fix that motion up as an amendment instead of a replacement. And the person, I guess, couldn't follow along what was going on. Things were going too fast, I guess, a little bit in the discussion. So basically what I did there is I filled in what I felt is what I had said during the meeting. At council meeting at 10:3, Mr. Brackwell stated that at the previous council meeting on 9/17/22, during the discussion of the motion to delete Spring Creek watershed, motion by Johnson and Bernier.
That should be Johnson second, Bernier made the motion.
Oh, Bernier made the motion. Okay.
Is that correct? Are you agree with that?
I've read that.
Sorry to interrupt you,
No,
Randy.
that's all
You're
right.
right.
I can change that because it's just. Okay. Second motion called a replacement motion to replace the original motion. Mr. Brockwell said it was an amendment and was informed of the replacement motion to replace the original motion. I said I'd never heard of that replacement, but we moved on with it. The council member stated it was in Robert's Rules of Order, so we went along and voted on it and approved. At the 10-3 meeting, it was found that the replacement was replaced by substitute, and the main motion was not addressed. So we had two motions on the floor, which you cannot have at the same time. So Mr. Brackwell stated that he contacted PSAB, spoke to Ron Grutza, Regulatory Affairs Officer, and for information on a replacement motion. After a couple of days, he called back and could not find anything on that. So my plan there was to readdress that motion to make it an amendment instead of a substitute, just to correct the motion and do the work we needed to do to get the first motion taken care of. It did not change anything that we did. Basically, the motion now reads as Steve Basie made an amendment to have Bellefonte Borough stay on the Spring Creek Watershed Commission. The Water Authority will appoint two elected representatives from council to sit on the committee with information from council. So, I just threw it there because the information was missing, and it just grew as I kept looking at it. So I have a motion to approve that change.
I'll make that motion, Clayton.
Second.
I'll second.
Discussion.
You have it.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of that change signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So do we need to vote on the entire?
I had one
Mean, it's
I
budget.
had a question on
Budget.
the budget versus actual supply.
Okay, but we don't have to vote another, since we approved the two corrections, that's all we need on
Yes,
this.
yes.
And we can go ahead and approve the whole consent, it's just I have a question on that one.
Okay.
We can,
Go ahead, what's your
the
budget?
question is, I did not understand Lori's notes. I wanted to know, how can something be over budget as well as new when the line item already says it was put in the budget for this year? There was, one example I pulled out was a particular, the parking enforcement retirement expense. Said that we had budgeted $865 for '22, but expended $1,900, which was definitely over budget. But then she put right next to that new, and I can't figure out what over budget and new on the same line means.
I can try to get an answer for you.
Like I said, it's not going to affect the numbers.
Yes,
It's
I
just trying to
understand.
understand what her notation means.
I'm not sure exactly.
And the other question related to that is that some lines says new and some say not budgeted. So what's the difference between new and not budgeted?
I'll get you an answer.
Like I said, it doesn't affect it, it's just
Yes.
confusing.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll go back. The next meeting.
Yes.
We'll have it out
We'll just
front
have
anyway.
Lori send an email out to
Yeah, just
everybody
give us
so
a
that
call.
everyone gets the answer.
Okay. So if that's all the changes that we have, I'll accept the motion to approve the consent agenda as corrected.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second, Cedric.
Second Cedric.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Vote same sign. Motion carries. Okay, then the next item are the elected official staff reports. And I have Mr. Mayor.
I have an announcement for the public. Monday, October 31st, from 6 to 8, will be trick-or-treating in the borough. I've arranged with Chief Weaver to have a police car on Allegheny Street outside of the borough where myself and an officer and any council members are welcome to join us. We're going to pass out candy to the kids. So it'll be a good community involvement night. So if you're out trick-or-treating, please make sure you stop by in front of the courthouse, say hello, and we'll have some candy. Yeah. So it's Monday, October 31st from 6 to 8 is trick-or-treating in Bellefonte. Stop by the courthouse.
And then I guess also attached to your report, Mayor, are the incidents from various officers. Okay? Because it's yours.
Maybe Sean.
Because
can
this shows
touch
up on the mayor's stuff. When
Yes.
I get it in my packet,
It's
it's
the police report.
Yes.
Correct.
with the mayor's name on it. So, Sean, you're up next then. Anybody has any questions for Chief Weaver?
Are there any questions? Any questions of the police report?
Looks like you're using a new format for some of the
No,
records.
that was actually put in there by mistake, but that's the case details.
Okay.
It shouldn't have been in there. On my part, but there were 4 pages. And that's basically the cases that we get every month that are investigated, the crimes that are investigated, so. And I note you. It was an oversight. But are there any questions about the report or any of the, it was a pretty slow month as far as training. We didn't have much training going on, and there were no use of force incidents, which is always good. We're still down an officer with his back surgery he had, so. Oh, yes. Karen Garner will be retiring Friday, and yep, this Friday. And I'm not going to mention. Got a little secret going on, so I can't put it out. So I'll send out an email. How's that? On the lowdown. But any questions at all? All right, that's good.
Thanks. Into Harb.
I'm late as well. I've got no hard projects for you to review. I had a lot of administrative approvals this month. So there's nothing there. Zoning, I did get the facts and findings from the zoning hearing board meeting that happened last month from Mr. Tressler, so that I included in your packet. As with any zoning hearing board decision, any entity is allowed to appeal. That includes council, so I just included that language there, so you know that. But there's nothing else to report. Any questions?
So let me ask you a question,
I don't know.
All we have to do is make a motion. If we wanted to appeal, we make the motion, but otherwise, if you do nothing, we do nothing.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Report from Mr. Stewart.
It's been submitted. Let me know if anybody has any questions.
It appears you've been busy.
Yes, I mean, just normal activity, but a good activity, you know. The projects are good ones to be working on.
I guess the other thing would be that we are at the PSAB.
Yeah.
You got some of the ideas we talked about this evening. That's where we got them from.
Sure. Randy's talking about the borough's fall leadership conference. Several of us attended. Very good conference. Very good sessions related to our police negotiations that are going on with the union contract. Some other possibilities that we're looking into with helping with the budget, as mentioned in the work session. I always think that's good, and especially a number of you came on in January. It certainly is valuable. I'd ask you to try it once or twice and get a feel for the training that's available. They're your counterparts from all across Pennsylvania doing the same thing you're doing, so you can learn a lot from our neighbors. So I'd encourage you to attend if you can. While I'm mentioning it, maybe I know it's on our agenda later on, but this Wednesday evening, we're having a Center County Boroughs Association meeting. They're still trying to get that organization sort of off the ground. We just formed it right prior to COVID coming in, so we're still relatively new to getting people to the meeting, and then we'd like to just keep building till we have some speakers attending, and a nice evening for members of council or whoever wants to attend, the mayor, and make it a nice evening for you. So keep that in mind. It's Wednesday, 6 o'clock here in this room. You can Zoom in or attend in person.
Okay, and then go
So
ahead.
related to that, I attended the Pennsylvania Municipal League meeting on the 6th through the 9th of this month. I'm in the process of making detailed notes so that everyone can see what great activities they had there. What I did do this afternoon, because I know we're in the middle of negotiations from the police contract, there was one particular session by Durant and some of their lawyers that work with PML that in detail cover a whole bunch of things, but particularly contract negotiations in general, and specifically dealing with police and 2 new laws that were passed. I cut those out of the PowerPoint that they sent to me at the very end of last week, and I sent them to Ralph, Don, Randy, and Deb, and then Randy sent it on to the other 2 committees of the ad hoc committee this afternoon, so that you have that information with whatever it is you're doing, because I understand we're having some meetings this week.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
And then moving on into the liaison reports, they're all listed there. I don't know if anybody has any comments or questions about any of them. I do want to point out on CNET's Board of Directors report that for 2023, borough members' contribution will increase by $707 or 4.1%. So the expenses go up to $18,140. And then on a bright note, on the top 10 list for the second quarter of 2022, the programs received the highest number of hits Bellefonte Borough. Good or bad, we'll take it.
It's good, it's all good. You want other comments on those?
If you have, yeah.
Well, the memo from Dawn in regard to the emergency management.
That's under new business.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thanks.
No other comments, we'll move on. This gets us into, what am I jump here? Too many minutes. We're going into the bids for current and old business, Governor's Park baseball field I need a motion and a second to,
I'll make the motion to allow staff to review them to award the bid.
I believe we're
We
going
have to
to,
open the bids first, don't we?
we're going to open them here. I mean, we can make the motion, but yes, we're going to open them here in the public meeting.
well, it kind of was. It's going to be the same thing, but we're not choosing it. We'll hang on to that a little
It's a
bit.
rain delay in the Yankees game.
Do you have an earpiece?
I have it on.
You can do the Johnny Carson.
No, I don't.
All right, so the bids for the baseball field there's a base bid, and then there's 4 alternate bids, a deduct alternate to delete the artificial turf, a deduct alternate 2 to delete the perfect pitching mound, a deduct alternate 3 to delete the 6 and 12-inch concrete curbing and infill the area with sod, and a deduct alternate 4 to delete the aluminum bleachers and setting bed bucket. The reason the deducts were in there is just because of the funding and to see where we come out in all this. So J.C. Orr, the first bid, their base bid is $919,390. No bid for the base bid 2. The deduct alternate number 1, $2,000. Alternate number 2, $9,200. Alternate number 3, $25,000. And the deduct alternate number 4, $78,000. Good, so when they're in.
I'm getting ready. That's all the rules.
All right, the next one should be Glenn O. Hallbaker.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Glenn Hallbaker, the base bid, $1,369,695. $1,369,695. Deduct number 1, $23,245. Alternate number 2, $14,500. Alternate number 3, $75,000. And alternate number 4, $95,000. Dave Roman Excavating.
Yep. I broke that already. Come on. Never pulled toward you.
All right. Dave Roman Excavating. Base bid, $1,048,563. $1,048,563. Alternate number 1, $23,584. Alternate number 2, $13,075. Alternate number 3, $42,000. Alternate number 4, $66,564. Land serve. Land serve, base bid, $1,091,100. Deduct alternate number 1, $48,000. Deduct alternate number 2, $6,000. Alternate number 3, $49,075. Alternate number 4, $65,000. Midstate Construction, Inc. Base bid, boy, these are all pretty close. $1,104,698. Alternate number 1, $9,646. Alternate number 2, $3,044. Alternate number 3, $22,988. Alternate number 4, $74,241. John Nastus Construction Incorporated. Base bid, $793,290. Alternate number 1, $681,416. Oh, he must have did totals. Alternate number 2, $775,890. Alternate number 3, $750,290. Alternate number 4, $733,290. All right, this is Playing Surface Solution, Inc. Base bid, $904,756. Alternate number 1, $15,057. Alternate number 2, $15,000. Alternate number 3, $37,430. Alternate number 4, $48,164.
Now we're moving into electrical.
Okay. That should be another sheet there. Only 4 more to go.
This is unusual.
Yes, it is. So, okay, the electrical bid, this is from PBCI Allen Mechanical and Electrical, $48,250. Stelco Incorporated. $84,400. Strauss Electric. Incorporated, $44,679.50.
I hold in my hand.
Okay, this is Westmoreland Electric Services. $60,950.
So I'll do is I'll call for a motion to approve staff reviewing the bids that came in for the ball field and the electrical.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Doug, the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Short-term rental, who has my sheet?
Right here, Randy, and I've got a tally for you. So there's one date where all of council can be present, and there's a three if need be. That's December the 8th. It's the last date. The only problem,
6th, 7th, and 8th, I'll be in Seattle.
Yeah, she didn't sign it. Yeah, she put an X on there.
okay, well, then there aren't any dates. We have.
What's the majority? Where's the majority of people?
Wednesday, November 30th, Shauna cannot make it. The December the 1st, Joanna can't make it.
I might.
If you could make it.
It'll be pushing it, but.
The 6th, Joanne, I think, is out then.
I
From the,
can-
so the only date would be
I could probably make it work.
30th?
the 1st.
First.
There would be, Rita is if needed.
Oh, no, I can't do the 1st.
You cannot do the 1st.
I couldn't be here until like almost 6:30. What time is
That
it?
would be fine. It starts at 5:30, so you miss an hour.
What is that, a Monday?
Lucky you.
Take away my Wednesday.
It's a
that's fine.
Thursday. The 1st is a Thursday.
What's,
Do the Wednesday for me, that's fine. I'll just cancel two.
Wednesday, the 30th would be, Joanne is the if need be. Everybody else was a solid yes.
I can make it, it's just, so like Rita.
Let's do Wednesday.
If we could do the 30th, that would be the date.
We gotta get moving on
yeah.
That's great.
this. Wednesday, November 30th.
So I'll call for a motion that we select Wednesday, November 30th for the short-term rental ordinance public hearing.
From 5:30, well, we have it listed from 5:30 to 8:30, and it would be at Lambert Hall.
5:30 to what? 8:30?
That's what it's listed,
Okay.
but it'll go as long as,
We have the public. So I need a motion.
So moved.
Joanne, second. Any discussion?
We'll put this up on our website tomorrow, and then we'll follow up with the published advertising that's required.
I do have one question about this. Will the draft be released then, so people can look?
as soon as it's
That's what we said.
advertised,
Yeah.
we'll advertise, and then they can pick up the draft ordinance.
Okay,
We-
once it's advertised.
We probably could even post it on our website.
Okay,
with
okay,
the-
just wanted to be
Yes.
clear
I think
on.
that's when
Yes.
they've seen them before,
Yes.
when they were probably
Great, thank
originally
you.
put out.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of having a short-term rental public hearing Wednesday, November 30th, 5:30 to 8:30, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. And then, Ralph, you already talked about the Borough Association
Yes,
meeting.
yes,
And
we're good there.
It did happen, we were at PSAB, we ran into the mayor of
Howard.
Howard, and tried to talk her into coming in, and she's looking at doing that, so that would be another
Yes.
person would have here. What do we need for a quorum, 5
I believe so.
or 6, something? We have-
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's, 5, I believe.
Update of light on the lighting in the downtown. At intersections, half have been replaced so far. The other half will be replaced in the coming week. So there's no action there from council. Anybody have any questions on the lighting? Anybody seen the lighting?
If you haven't had a chance to drive up through the Diamond's definitely done. It's the lighting, the light poles right around the Diamond. You know, they're done. They look, we thought they looked really well, really good, much brighter.
I have to go home that way, so I'll see them tonight.
Okay, yes. Other sections, as the note here is indicating, we're working our way through the different intersections in town.
Okay, no other old business. We'll move into new business, and that would bring up our note from Dawn, Emergency Management Coordinator. It's basically what's happening is Dawn's been the Borough Emergency Management Coordinator for approximately the past 10 years. Recently, the PEMA Administrator updated the directive ensuring EMC stay current on emergency management-related training. For a better overall understanding of the EMCs, I've included an attachment and an article in the latest Borough News, which you may have read, titled Emergency Management 101. I've also included 2 PEMA checklists, which reflect the new guidelines established for required EMC training. So the new requirements are much more extensive and can take to 3 years to complete. This is opposed to the 8 FEMA National Incident Management Source Systems courses previously required for an MAC. My reasoning for pointing this out is it may be the ideal time for council to consider nominating someone to replace Dawn as EMC to be appointed by the governor. I think it's best to be prepared for an emergency. Somebody starting out while these new training opportunities will likely be widely available, especially locally. So would allow someone to grow into the position and ensure Bellefonte has someone in place for long term. Excuse me.
Yes.
So my question is, does this have to be, can this be a resident who has a background? Could it be a firefighter? Could it be a police officer? How would that
I
work?
think if you read the article, it says they'd rather have a staff person and not, I guess, but I think Dawn and Ralph could do this, consider an appointment from borough staff. Let them give us a recommendation.
That's fine.
We could do that, yeah, I think
that's the
we'll
easiest
we'll
thing.
find someone that fits
If you're
the,
willing to do this.
yes, we would too, and of course, we will follow the guidelines and
Yeah.
bring back a name
Yeah,
for recommendation. We haven't had a chance to really talk to anybody yet, but.
okay.
We'll make a motion of that?
I'll make a motion that we ask borough staff, meaning our,
Manager and assistant manager.
yeah, to consider making this appointment and bring that recommendation to council. after
Sure.
they, have a recommendation for us.
Do you have a second?
Here, I'll second that.
Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to have borough staff review and appoint an EMC, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, that motion carries. You can do that administratively.
Well, we have to make we'll make a recommendation.
yeah,
You'll have to make the
yeah.
nomination to the governor.
Yes.
So is this, just out of curiosity, this is just a nomination, he stamps it, or is this a nomination that has to go through the General Assembly?
I think he stamps it. It's underneath the governor's
If I was elected, it was just.
emergency management's underneath the
I see it
governor.
both ways.
I don't believe that for a minute.
I think,
Thanks
moving,
for doing it in the past.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as goals considering, we'll see what pops up, but I think we have our goals list pretty much filled up for the rest of the year. And, but we'll leave it on there in case something changes. But I do, again, remind staff, we should at least maybe between the blank weeks here, we can look at possible additions. Send out a
Yes.
doodle about additional meeting
Yes,
to work on just the budget.
yes, we can do that.
So the Environmental Advisory Board has completed this survey, we're still gathering the letters of commitment from the nonprofits. I assume that it will most likely be the second meeting in November by the time they get those to us.
Okay. Good, thank you. Okay, moving on, before we adjourn, I'll announce that we are having an executive session immediately after the meeting, and we'll get started with that. At this time, do I have a motion to adjourn? Veneers, do I have a second?
Second.
Doug?
That was a good one.